All right, I'm going to do a pitching analysis here of Chase Kruger. We're going to pair him up with 90 plus mile an hour testimonial Colton Turner. Let's take Chase into his lift. And let's take Colton into his lift. So I'm seeing out of Chase here is he's really pushing the hips hard. Now I do want into the lift some momentum being shifted inside that drive leg. But what I see here more is the hip pushing out and this trunk dipping back. Now we do want the trunk and the head to be back and loaded. But if we do it too much, if we go too extreme, it can cause some problems. I think we'll start to see that coming out of the load because you're shifting way too much momentum back here, and it can cause this hip to collapse and this leg to collapse down. But we'll just have to see. Colton Turner is maintaining an upright posture with weight inside his drive leg. So he's got momentum going this way as opposed a shift here and a move back. It's just, I don't think, as efficient. So let's take both these pitchers into their loads. And as you can see what has happened, what I suggested, which was this drive leg's going to collapse down hard. So if you get back into this backwards trunk posture, you need to maintain stability. You need to maintain stability in this back leg, but this knee's already going down. So that's going to cause some problems heading into a foot strike. As Colton Turner loads, he's going to keep his head behind belt buckle, but is not going too extreme with this trunk posture, working on closing off hard, and he still has stability and torsion in that back leg. Because overall, I just don't see a lot of momentum here. It was a lot of lift, dip back with the trunk, go down. There just isn't a lot of speed occurring here. Out of this lift, you can definitely see the shift in momentum. There's clearly a lot of momentum and speed and a lot of impact that's going to hit front foot strike. I don't see that in the delivery over here. So if we take both pitchers into foot strike, Chase just looks like he's just purely going to rotate, and he's actually very vertical as well. Colton Turner is going to drive that back leg through triple extension, and shoulders are closed off. And that's what we want right there. Now, Chase is trying to open up the hips, but he's doing it by rotating because he didn't have a lot of momentum. His trunk, his back leg was sort of collapsed. So he's just going to pop the foot up and rotate, which does a decent job of opening up the hips, but it doesn't create the tension in the body that we're looking for. You can even tell he's rotating hard because you can tell that this front leg here, this foot, if this was the center of the rubber, is open and pointing in that direction. If anything, we want it closed and just across our body as opposed to open here. So when he hits front foot strike, his head is already shifting forward, and that is not what we want. We want that head behind belt buckle to give our arm a good path and our trunk a good path to move through pitch release. And like I said, his center of gravity is very high here. We want it much lower so that our angles heading into pitch release are linear, so it'll launch us towards the plate. If you take both pitchers into pitch release, if you take Chase in external rotation, his elbow's already is in a decent place, but is pushing out a bit in front of the face here. With Colton, it's not the greatest, but it excellently rotates above his head. Chase doesn't have a bad release. He's got a decent front leg, but the problem is the angle of the trunk and the front leg is what's important. So if you look at ball release right there versus ball release here, let's look at the angles of the trunk. Let me measure that again. We've got 40 degrees here versus Chase's 54 degrees. So we got about 15-degree difference, and that's because of that center of gravity. Chase is so high up, it's tough for him to create linear force at this point. You can even see it at his release here. While Colton Turner is much lower to the ground, it was easier for him to create that linear direction. So what are some actionable steps here? Coming out of the lift, not dipping back so hard with the trunk that we're causing this back leg to collapse, but trying to create some momentum with our hips moving forward and down. Then learning to triple extend and drive that back leg in a linear direction will help us create better, more high quality separation while we're keeping the head back. And then this leg will now be at a better angle that when you do extend, it'll launch your trunk linear and give you an increase in velocity. So that's my analysis. Let me know if you have any questions.